Greetings and welcome to the channel. After my last video on the effective federal income tax rate, I decided to take a depressing dive into the overall effective tax rates. What percentage does the median American pay overall in the most common taxes? Here are the list of taxes that I decided to use. Again, this isn't everything, but I feel that these are the most common. Starting at the top, I did estimate 2024's median household income at $82,000. I slightly increased 2023's number, which was just over $80,000. And again, if you didn't watch the last video, the median household income is for all people living in a household, whether they're related or not. This is the estimated income. And it includes Social Security, disability benefits, W-2 income, of course, investment income, interest, dividends. So again, some of those things get taxed at slightly different rates, or some not at all, but that's why we're just doing an estimate. We can't really come up with an exact figure for how this works out. On the second line, the range of effective federal income tax. And again, this is from my video last week, the last video I did, which figured it was about 2 to 7%, depending on the number of dependents. And I assumed married filing jointly. So some people are going to be less than this. A few people might be higher than this as far as the median goes. But 2 to 7% was what I came up with. Social Security is a set 6.2% of income, of basically W-2 income. What that means is if you're self-employed, you actually pay 12.4% because you pay both halves of that. But it also doesn't include, like Social Security doesn't get taxed by Social Security. And if you have investment income, you don't pay Social Security tax on that either. But 6.2%, if that $82,000 of income is all wages from an employment, then 6.2% is the rate. Medicare is a set 1.45%. And again, that's employee half, so the total is 2.9% paid by the employee and the employer, and you pay both halves if you're self-employed. I used state tax burden rates from this Wallet Hub article by Adam McCain. It ranks each state by total tax burden, property tax burden, individual income tax burden, and total sales and excise tax burden. From the article, I used the 25th ranked state in each, so about the median of the average. For Colorado, state and local income tax, Colorado was 25th at 2.49%. That's the effective tax burden on individuals in Colorado. For property tax, Hawaii was 25th at 2.64%. Sales and excise tax, Idaho was 25th at 3.27%. Again, I used basically the middle of the averages for each state. That's not true median, but it would be very difficult to come up with a true median for all of these. And you'll notice the total is 18 to 23%. What I'm looking at is around 20% of the median household goes toward taxes. Again, depending on what your income source is, and obviously the state you live in. Some states don't have income tax, so your overall rate might be lower. I also wanted to give an example of someone who retired early and no longer pays Social Security and Medicare, but is not yet receiving Social Security. In this case, the total income is $32,000. Federal income tax is less than 1% at this level because the standard deduction is over $29,000. Social Security and Medicare are 0% since there's no earned income. State and local income tax of 2.15%, and that's from the state filing, and that's Maryland. Property tax of 5.79%. That's the property tax effective rate of my, as compared to my total income. Sales and excise tax of 3.13%. This I really had to kind of guess at because I probably pay sales and or excise tax on about $20,000 a year at around 5%. Obviously, some things are higher. Gasoline, which I don't buy a lot of gasoline, but gasoline's taxed pretty high. That would increase it. And then obviously a lot of things aren't taxed. But I figure of the things that I buy that are taxed, it's about 3%, giving me a total of around 12% taxed. So of my total income, 12% of it goes toward taxes. And that's for someone who pays almost nothing in federal and Social Security Medicare taxes. If we count Social Security as a percentage of taxes while we're paying, we should probably count them against taxes when we are collecting them. There are a lot of conflicting reports on how many people rely solely on Social Security, but for most people, it provides between half and all of their income in retirement. I decided to do a nerdy calculation on how much someone whose average earnings were $82,000 would pay over 45 years and expect to collect in 15 years of retirement. In today's dollars, they would have paid in $228,780. For the full calculation, $82,000 per year times 45 years times 6.2% equals $228,780. To determine the Social Security benefit, I used the $82,000 divided by 12 to come up with the average indexed monthly earnings. This gets calculated over the entire working career of the individual. It takes the highest 35 years of earnings and determines the average index monthly earnings. But what I'm looking at is someone who is earning the median, or a household earning the median, which gives me $6,833. To calculate the primary insurance amount, the first $1,226, the benefit is 90% of that, which is $1,103, and this is monthly. The next $5,607 out of the $6,833, the benefit is calculated at 32% of that, which is $1,794. The age 67 benefit is those numbers combined in yellow, which is $2,897. We multiply that by 12 months, then by 15 years, going with my assumption, resulting in $521,460 in Social Security income. Again, this is in today's dollars. If this theoretical person retired today, they would have paid less and received more based on inflation. Another thing to keep in mind is that total Social Security paid for this individual is 12.4%, since the employer also pays 6.2%, for a total of $457,560 paid in. We don't like paying taxes, especially if we don't see the benefit. This calculation is both frustrating and enlightening, but it is what it is. Thank you for listening, and as always, if you have comments or questions, please leave those below. And remember, if you're going to retire, retire to something.